Hi, this is Carol Watson, and I am the Chief Thriver at Thrive.com, and we're very excited to have you join us for another episode of Thrive Talk. If you have not been to a Thrive Talk before, just to let you know, it is designed as an intimate conversation, so we want you to be part of that conversation, whether you have a question while we're doing the Thrive Talk or after. We want to make you feel like you are in the inside part of a great conversation. So as we kick off the new year and get ready for great things to come, we wanted to continue to share insights from great entrepreneurs and business owners. So today we're very excited to have as our guest Antonio Tronic McDonald, who has his own production and creative director, production and TV commercial firm. And so he's been a former TV promotional producer for MTV for a while and worked on some amazing brands, including Sprite and Sean P. Combs and some KFC and Pantene and some great brands. So we want to introduce him and have him share some of the things that he's learned as a business owner. Tronic?
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it. Thanks for everyone out there watching. I just wanted to say I am a fan of Thrive, and I do enjoy watching every Friday when I get a chance or on demand. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining us. So to kick us off, you can all read his bio and some great information about his company, KUAMP, and we want to hear more about what your current role is, and tell us a little bit more about what you do on a day-to-day basis. Probably not a day-to-day, but a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, as you know, each day is completely different. Primarily, I'm a producer, director, writer. So that means I come up with content, I come up with ideas from soup to nuts. So I actually conceptualize a concept, I execute, I put the team together, I produce the piece, and then I distribute it as well. So it's kind of a new model, and it's kind of this new wearing many hats kind of thing that's going on in advertising and production. So I take pride in that, and my background prior to my own agency actually was at MTV in the On Air Promos department, as you mentioned. So I kind of had an opportunity to wear many hats and kind of jump in the fire, so to speak, and to create many great engaging pieces.
That's fabulous. So what made you take that leap out? I mean, MTV must have been such an awesome company to work with.
Yeah.
Why have your own thing? What was the motivation for you?
Well, it is. I think Viacom, MTV is a great brand, especially to start. I started right out of school, so I think for me it was great. I was there for about 8 years, which is almost like an eon at MTV in that world. And I think for me it became a point where I got to a point rather where I was feeling that I could offer more, basically on a wider scale. So as you know, MTV has the 18 to 34-year-old demographic, which they do very well, and I think it's something that the advertisers love to kind of play in that space. I think that for me, I wanted to kind of expound a little bit and just to grow and just to kind of really step into other demos and to reach other audiences, basically, and to kind of expand my reach as a producer, director, and writer. And I think, you know, as far as the entrepreneurial side, basically, as a business, I think, you know, obviously we all want to strive and we want to go for more and we want to thrive, basically, to be excellent. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're under someone else's regime, basically, so to speak. So I think for me it was just a natural progression to basically get into the entrepreneurial side of the business and to create my own production company and to create engaging content on my own that I could kind of run with and kind of could work with brands and could work with channels and other networks. We're a great team together, MTV and myself. We work together all the time. But I think that for me, as an entrepreneur, with that bug burning inside of me, it was really hard to stay as a staff employee at MTV for so long and to not kind of venture out on my own. And that is the case with many producer, director, writers who come through the MTV world. You know, you kind of want to get out and soar and fly.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I think everybody gets the good parts of it and the fun parts of it. What have been the hard parts for you in either making the transition and building your business or just the day-to-day work? What's the hard part?
Well, I think the hours are tough. As anyone who knows who works in production, the hours can be very tough. And I think that, you know, sometimes kind of dealing with the bureaucracy, basically, as any corporate company or any business you're gonna entail. So I think that the toughest part for me has, I would say, primarily has just been navigating through some of the pain points that could be anything from, working with tougher clients to, just kind of working nonstop, almost 24 hours some periods, basically with very little sleep. But I think, in the end of the day, in hindsight, those things that I just called out actually are very minute when you really get down to doing what you love to do. As any leader has said, or any successful business owner has said, it's really about something that you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about something, it won't really feel like work at all. So I think that's really the key, is to really find that passionate thing or cause, and to go after it, and to just really have fun with it. And then, some of those pain points will kind of fall off that I mentioned. So there's really no complaint.
And we all have nothing to complain about, no matter how tired we are, right?
Exactly.
So I know storytelling is a huge part of your brand and what you bring to a client and how you want to deliver for them. Tell us more about how you and what your philosophy is around storytelling and how you bring that to life in your work.
Right. Well, for me, I love to put myself in the audience's shoes. I love to envision myself when I'm coming up with concepts in the seat, in the couch, in the movie theater, wherever the platform is that we're creating for, and to really kind of understand the mindset of the viewer at that specific moment for that specific brand. And I think that's been helpful for me, because you're able to now organically create. So you're not just kind of pulling from thin air or kind of dealing in a vacuum. I think that you're really kind of offering something organically to these viewers or to the audience at the time that is imperative for their life and is relevant, which is our logo, basically, and our slogan is to make your story relevant. I think that, you can come up with great stories, you can come up with a lot of great moments, but I think if it doesn't really resonate with the person, and if it isn't relevant, then it really kind of falls on deaf ears, so to speak. So my first order of business when coming up with a concept is always to put myself in the viewer's position and to understand how they're receiving this message and how they're actually in turn going to interpret it, basically, and how they're going to, is there a call to action? How are they going to move on what it is you're calling them to do? So I think it's an organic process for me, and I think really storytelling is something that folks need to really just kind of simplify and really make just a minimal thing, basically, and to really kind of create from the starting point of the viewer, and to then create from there.
Fabulous. So we have 2 questions that have come up over the week. A quick, easy question is, where did you get the name KAMP? Spelled a little differently. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, KAMP derives from KUAMP. It's deriving from a camp of people coming together for collaborative efforts, basically. So we basically are saying that we work with everyone, basically, and we're willing to kind of bring our minds together for a common goal. The name, basically, just kind of something that had some flavor, and it just kind of had a nice ring to it, basically, and it was definitely different, which is what we are, and we thrive on being different and to be different for different's sake. We always want to invent new ideas. We want to be innovators. We want to always kind of be at the forefront of media, of industry, and I think KAMP kind of personifies that, and it really kind of takes this collaboration mentality and really kind of runs with it and pushes it to another level, basically. So KAMP is a new collaboration.
So speaking of collaboration, one of the other questions that we got was, how have you found collaborators? What makes a good? What do you look for? And what are you still looking for? What do you have a hard time finding in terms of collaborators and partners as part of the KAMP team?
Right. Well, we have worked with all different types of folks in the past. We've had the business now for about 13 years, and we've worked with some great talent, freelance staff. And I think that what we look for mostly is talent, one. People who work well with others is always good. We always look for folks who are innovative, who are always trying to push the envelope and always trying to understand what's next. because as we know, this industry, if you're not really innovating, you're dying basically. So I think that what we stress most is talent, organizational skills, and the ability to basically kind of have foresight and to be able to understand what's coming next.
Fabulous. So 13 years later, I'm sure you have some favorite projects that you've worked on. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects in your portfolio that have meant the most to you, whether they've been the most challenging or the most innovative, and what you learned from them?
Sure. I think for me, one of the most, I would say challenging, but yet at the same time super rewarding for me, projects for me has been the Sprite campaign we did. That was an opportunity that I got to, again, come in from the very beginning to conceptualize that. So I wrote that piece, and I produced it and I directed it basically with help from my team, basically, of course. And I think that the reason why that project means a lot to me is because, like I mentioned, I was able to kind of wear many hats on the project, and at the same time it was received well by the industry. It had a bunch of write-ups in all the trades, from Adweek to creativity. We won awards, Promax BDAs, Creativity Annual Awards. So it was basically really rewarding on all different fronts. So I was pleased with it. I was happy with it. My bosses loved it. The client loved it. Sprite, it was great, and it was really their first segue with the networks into branded entertainment. As we know, that's the big thing right now. So I think that for me, the fact that we were able to kind of jump out on this early task and to really kind of create something that resonated with people, and it was really something that the industry also resonated with, and they awarded us. I think that it was just a win-win in so many different columns. So for me, I think that was probably one of my favorites. I don't really have
all of your children, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's tough. I mean, I think every project, is always something great to learn on. It's something great to, you explore different fields, you explore different talent, And as a director, I love working with talent. I love working with, composers. I love working with, art department. I just love the whole process of production. So I think that for me, it's kind of hard to have a bad one. As you said, it's hard to pick your favorite kid. There were some projects that were more trying than others. But I think with those I learned a great deal from them, and I was able to kind of take something from that project into another project. So I think, it would be hard for me to say it wasn't a win. So I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer for that one.
That's a great answer. We're going to post the Sprite effort on his post, so you can take a look at it, but it's also on his website if you can't wait. But join us back again and we'll have it posted for you. So next question is, as a business owner, and especially as a creative, one of the challenges is how do you continue to evolve and grow your business? So what are your thoughts around business development as a creative business owner, and what's your approach for building business?
Wow, that's a tough one. And that probably has been the toughest transition for me, from going from, as you mentioned, MTV and the staff role to stepping into my own company. And, again, you wear many hats and you have to handle so many different aspects of the business. So I think the business development side was probably the most challenging for me. Some of the ways that I go about it is, again, organically. And that's a word that I use a lot. I just think that things have to naturally progress. I think that you have to allow people a chance to get to know you. You have to allow people to understand your work and what you stand for, your ethos. And that takes time. That's not something that happens, hey, you send out a cold email, or you send, a cold call, and boom, you're working on a top brand's work the next day. Like, that's pretty unrealistic. I mean, although it can happen. I'd love it to happen for us. But realistically, it's tough. So I think organically is the best way to kind of develop these relationships and to really seek out people who are gatekeepers for what you specifically are trying to accomplish, and at the same time to not push those people, to not force them, because at the end of the day, as a successful business owner, or as a person who has created anything, you're confident in your abilities and you're confident in what you're able to create. So it's just about really just kind of letting that person on the other end understand that. And I think once you can do that, work comes organically, and business development, comes from that. So Again, organically is the way to go about a lot of these business development type of endeavors, to really try to reach out to people who directly are connected to your business, and to at the same time take time to nurture the relationship, and to take time to understand the needs of that person, so that way you can better help them. Because at the end of the day, you're helping each other. They're helping you gain another client, and you're helping them, with ROI. So it's really that simple. So I think, the key is to really organically find these people and to really understand their pain points and what they need and what you can help them with. And that's always a great way to kind of get things going for your business.
So networking is part of that, and I know that's often a dirty word, especially for creatives that are really focused on the work and behind the camera. So what's your strategy for tackling networking? Where do you go? And any stories of success that you can share with our community?
Yeah, well, one that comes to mind basically is, I think seminars are great. And again, to find things that are to your interest, that really kind of pinpoint where it is that you're trying to go with your business, and to then find those events or seminars or things that are happening, and to be there. So one that I really like is, I love Adweek. I think it's great. I think there's so many encompassing elements basically of the business that fall under that umbrella. So you're able to kind of touch many different people and topics. So you're able to learn about what's happening in the business, and at the same time you're able to see and talk to a lot of the players. So I personally love Adweek. I love the Anya events. Basically, they're great as well, basically because you're able to kind of network with a bunch of different people. And I think that is the key, to network with a bunch of different people, but at the same time, people who are imperative in your growth as a business.
Any interesting stories about winning some new business that you can share from those experiences?
Actually, there's a great one. So, for example, Adweek, I attended this past year, and it was great. I got to meet a bunch of great folks, and I'm still developing relationships with a lot of those people, and hopefully some business comes out of it. If not, hey, I just appreciate just the engagement that we were able to have, and just kind of, just talk about the business and just talk about stuff that's going on in general. So one great example that I had was basically working with a company called Contently. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but check them out. They're really doing a lot of great work. They actually approached me about doing a piece which has an open-ended prompt, which creatives love, and the prompt was just about why do stories matter. So as a creative, it's awesome for me to just kind of have no guidelines, no rules and regulations, not much of a budget, unfortunately, on this particular project, but I think we're able to do some really great works, and sometimes that actually works in a creative's favor, because if you have a bunch of time, if you have a bunch of money, and you can do anything you want, sometimes it can be kind of tough, and you can kind of, find yourself in a stagnant point. But I think in this particular case, with this prompt, it was open-ended to the point where I was able to run with it, but because of the budget being at a certain number, I was able to now kind of hone, what I needed, what my creative was, what I was trying to execute into a more of a package kind of form. So that was one example of, kind of going to an event that I felt was organic for my business, meeting people, having genuine conversations with people, and then it sparking work directly to, now that Contently piece will be airing next week, actually. So make sure you look out for that. It should be in all the trades and everything as well. But that piece is a direct, correlation basically between me attending that event, seeking out that event first and foremost, attending it, and then being able to, meet some great people from it. So that's just one great example I could share.
Well, congratulations. We'll be sure to make sure we showcase that on Thrive so people can see some of the great work you're working on. Anything coming up for you as we kind of wind out the talk? Anything you're excited about that you're working on outside of the traditional commercial work that you want to share?
Well, KUAMP actually is now getting into more of the media business. I did have an earlier stint with basically Neighborhood, which was an online platform that we created, and KUAMP.tv, which will be launching in the next, hopefully before the second quarter starts. Thinking around March we should be able to have it launched, but it's going to be a content portal of all original premium content, everything from dating shows to, sports shows to cooking shows. kind of just a lifestyle content portal. So very similar to a Hulu or Netflix, but geared towards I like to say the metropolitan. So it's multicultural meets general market, basically, audience. And it will kind of encompass a lot of great talent, and there's a lot of great content and information for people like us who basically want information. And I think that's really where something is going, where a lot of the industry is going right now, where people are seeking out knowledge. And kudos to you again with Thrive Talk. I feel like people have seen a lot of the frivolous television, and yeah, that has its place, and that's great. But I think now we want more knowledge. And KRS said back in the day, basically, not to date myself, but KRS-One, edutainment. Like we can be educated and we can be entertained at the same time. And I think that is what KUAMP.TV will bring to your audience, basically, and to a vast audience, basically, is engaging original premium content that is entertaining at the same time educational.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on it. That sounds exciting. So to finalize the conversation, we always ask our guests, what does it take for you to thrive? Give us an idea of what do you incorporate in your life?
Yeah. Well, for me, thriving basically can mean a lot of different things. I think for me to thrive is really just to be successful in my own skin and to be happy in what I'm doing, basically, as a person, as a man, as a director, as a producer. I think to thrive, for me, I think it's all about having trust, I think, in any case. So, for example, if I'm working with a brand, I feel I can thrive for them if they allow me to, run with what they're trying to accomplish. So I get an RFP, I send in my treatment, I send in my boards, we talk, we collaborate on an idea, and I'm just like, hey, I understand this, I can completely bring this home for you, and to allow them to let me run with it, I think is when I'm able to really thrive most, because as you know, if your hands are tied as an artist, it's really hard to really create, and you're always second guessing yourself. So I think the best time for me to thrive, or I thrive most, I think, is when I have trust in anything, with brands, with relationships, with anything. So trust, I think, is key to thrive in this business, at least.
Well, thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Tronic. It was great to have you as our guest. Please join us next Friday as we have as our Thrive guest Mary Lee from Huge, who is transforming, Huge is really transforming the agency experience and taking on, requiring us to take on a lot more as industry professionals in our career growth. So we're excited to have her on there. And thank you, of course, to Microsoft for making this all possible for us. And enjoy your Martin Luther King weekend, everyone, and continue to thrive. Thank you.